Chapter 9. The Law of Personal Gravity. Babies love themselves. They will never try to be anyone other than who they are. They don't know how. They are 100% authentic. We are drawn to them as if they are gravity. Puppies love themselves too. They're also 100% authentic. We're drawn to them too as if they have gravity. I call this law of personal gravity. It's the law that says the more we are our authentic selves, the more people are drawn to us. As we grow up though, as we get bigger and bigger, we actually get smaller and smaller. Our light diminishes, our gravity weakens, and it's because we cover our light with layer upon layer of ideas, notions, and beliefs that convince us that we're not enough. And for this reason, the gravity of a child is several times stronger than the gravity of most adults. It's quite simple, really. Authenticity, vulnerability, honesty, courage, self-care. These all increase our gravity. Personal gravity is high when we know we're enough, and weak when we believe that we're not enough. We can tell when someone feels that they're not enough. Usually we're not drawn to them as much as we are to other people. It's not that there's anything wrong with them. It's not so much a conscious judgment. It's just that deep in our psyche, we all seek connection, and we intuitively know if connection is possible with the people we meet. It can even be that a person feels that they're not enough, but they have a strong mind and a large personality which they use to draw people to them. But that's not gravity. It's overwhelming people. You can tell that it's not authentic. Do you want to increase your gravity? Be your authentic self? And then you'll start to know that you are enough, and people will look at you and wonder what it is that makes you shine from the inside so much. Increasing your personal gravity isn't about getting people to like you though, although people liking you is a side effect. The goal is always be your authentic self, and therefore to come to know that you are enough. Personal gravity is an indicator of authenticity, a barometer, if you will, of self-love. It operates whether we like it or not, or whether we agree to it or not. But the more aware of it we are, the more we can use it to measure our progress. We're not just playing a numbers game here. It's not necessarily that greater numbers of people are drawn to us when we have high personal gravity, although that often does happen, but that we attract greater depth and quality of connection. So, if you find yourself consistently surrounded by people who make you feel uncomfortable, ask yourself, why have you drawn them into your life? Is it a sign that you're not being as authentic as you could be? Or is it your own authentic self that you're uncomfortable with? That would also indicate a self-love deficit. Personal gravity is also correlated with happiness and success in life. The more authentic we are, the more likely we are to feel good, and therefore the more productive, insightful, and creative we become. And these things usually translate into success in whichever arena of life that we place ourselves in. People will also think that we're lucky, but that too is a side effect of our gravity. Our gravity draws opportunities and events that aren't always obvious at first, but simmer in the background, growing in momentum, until the time is right for them to enter our life. So before you go any further, write down your answer to the following question. What can I do more of that says, this is who I really am? The law of personal gravity has an opposite, as most things do. It's called the law of personal repulsion. It's about how we repel people, success, hopes, and dreams when we're not being ourselves. Shortly after I resigned from my pharmaceutical industry, I started reading self-help books and spiritual books. I was inspired about starting in my new career and as a writer and a speaker. Having read all these books, I somehow managed to get into my head that I had been enlightened to write and speak, so I decided to be enlightened. Everywhere I went, I tried to show that I was peaceful and enlightened. I regurgitated lines I'd read in books and passed them off as my own. Often I even spoke in a gentle way because I thought it was how an enlightened person would speak. My former university chemistry professor, William J. Kerr, likes to organise reunions with some of the students that he has taught. And in 2000, about 6 months after I'd left the pharmaceutical industry, I attended one such gathering. My university days were some of the most enjoyable of my life. I had great friends, I studied hard, I learnt a lot, played a lot of sport, and even found some time to be president of the Chemistry Society. I had lots of energy and would get fairly enthusiastic and excitable when I was part of a group. I loved to tell stories and jokes and to laugh. But that was over. Now that I was enlightened, I couldn't behave in that kind of way. It was so unevolved. So, at the reunion weekend, I walked everywhere slowly, usually with my hands clasped behind my back. I'd seen some monks do, and that I'd figured I should be doing it too. I also wore a serene smile on my face, and when I spoke, it was soft and gentle. I wanted people to know that I was enlightened. It would inspire them. And on the first night after dinner, there was about 25 of us in a large lounge talking, telling stories and having a laugh, or at least everyone else was. At university, when someone told a story, I'd usually chip in with a similar one, and I might even have embellished it a little at times just to make it funnier. So now, as each story ended, my friends instinctively looked at me to top it up, but I just sat there, cross-legged, with a serene smile on my face, nodding pleasantly. Unsurprisingly, my career as a writer and speaker didn't exactly take off. I wasn't attracting audiences to my speaking events because all I was doing was regurgitating what other people had said and trying to pretend that I was enlightened. Had I been myself, a guy who had a dream and had left his job to pursue it, or maybe if I'd even just talked about some of the lessons I'd learned in life, I might have been a bit more successful during that period. But success follows authenticity. People can tell where you are, and I wasn't being authentic. I had negative gravity. I was repelling what I wanted in my life. It wasn't long before I was financially broke. Much later, I realised there's nothing wrong with having a laugh or being the centre of attention if that's the sort of person that you are. I used to think that being spiritual meant being at peace, but the truest spirituality is being who you really are. Being at peace is part of that, but it doesn't mean having no thoughts whatsoever. It means being at peace with who you are. It means accepting yourself, your imperfections, your flaws, your wobbly bits, your vulnerabilities, your habits, the fact that you get scared, the fact that you don't know what to do a lot of the time, the fact that you're not always confident, the fact that sometimes you feel like a complete mess, as well as all the positive things about yourself as well. Being at peace with all of that boosts your gravity. All of us have stuff, baggage, regrets. We get the idea that we need to eliminate all of that to be healed. That's not true at all. Peace is when we accept it all. And if we can be at peace with ourselves, we'll be enough. Accepting ourselves needn't mean that we no longer grow or pursue our hopes and dreams. Growth, like change, is natural and healthy when it originates from a sense of enough. It's perfectly natural to sense possibilities for expansion and improvement and to follow them up. Equally, when we accept ourselves, life doesn't cease to be challenging. We don't sit on a metaphorical white cloud in a state of perceptual peace. We simply meet people, challenges and experiences with a healthier mindset. Life goes on pretty much as usual. As it goes on, we can learn a lot from watching animals. Oscar knows who he is. He chases ducks and other birds and when we're at the river. And if he goes too close to swans, they ward him off with a guttural ksh sound. And I'm fairly confident he doesn't think, that swan is hissing at me. Maybe it doesn't like me. I wonder if I've done something to offend it. He just gets on with sniffing trees and dogs. Oscar has taught me lots. One big lesson is that my gravity diminishes when I'm overly obsessed with what people think of me and whether they like me or not. I believe Oscar and I were always meant to find each other. In fact, he has helped me find myself. I bet you have an animal or a person in your life right now who is teaching you about yourself. Pause for a moment and think about who it is. Who is teaching you who you are? Who is bringing out your authentic self? Or who is forcing you to see your authentic self? The following exercise is about discovering what makes you who you are. When you know that, you'll find it easier to be authentic. And when you find your real self, the people who need to be in your life will find you too. Self-love gym. Who are you? Take some time to reflect on everything that makes you uniquely you. Think about the good stuff, but include your wobbly bits too, and your hopes and dreams, because they are a part of you. Even include how you act when you fail, because that's part of you too. Think about the people who have influenced you, helped mold your character, help you be who you are, provided the environment in which you become yourself. Think about the events that have influenced you, those that have helped you display your character, those that have forged your character. Draw or paint who you are, or write it all down as a poem if you prefer. In summary, authenticity creates gravity. Just as apples fall from trees due to the Earth's gravity, people fall towards us due to our personal gravity. This law of personal gravity, as I like to call it, also has an opposite, the law of personal repulsion. We harness that law when we're not being authentic. Children and puppies have a lot of personal gravity. Adults tend to have much less. Mostly because on the way to adulthood, we've learned to think of ourselves as not enough. But as we learn that we are, indeed and always have been, enough, our gravity increases again. The goal isn't to have gravity, of course. The goal is to be authentic and to know that we are enough. Gravity is just an observable indicator of our progress.